Hi, what up, YouTube? This is No Cap, No Filter. I'm your host, Marty G, back at y'all another episode of Running With You. And tonight we gotta run about the Pooh Shiesty Gucci Mane situation. If you've been living under a rock, you might not have heard about this, but it's been going crazy on social media. Some people saying Pooh Shiesty, he's staying on business, free him. He the only one you can believe living his raps. Some people saying Gucci, man, no way in the world this can't be Gucci man, Lil Flair, not the boogeyman himself, not the man who, all the gangsters just look up to when it comes to, all the gangster rappers that, you know, been popping their shit like the last 20 years or so. Not him turn snitch. Like, hey, bro, it's a lot of different perspectives on this type of situation because it's something that you never really just see like this. Like, this stuff, rarely happens, especially at you know, the magnitude of these two guys. You got one young nigga, he really like the forefront of the YNs when it comes to like gangster rap, and you got this other person who's just this legend, to a lot of people. And to have this happen is just got people pulled in so many different directions, and Atlanta just can't catch a break, huh? Atlanta can't catch a break. But man, we're gonna go ahead on and react to this press conference. They break it down what transpired that night. So if you haven't really heard the actual facts from that's gathered by the feds, man, let's go ahead on and get into it, man, without further ado.
I'm Ryan Rabel. I'm the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Texas. Thank you for coming. This week, 9 individuals, including well-known musical artists, kidnapped and robbed at gunpoint numerous victims at a music studio in Dallas, Texas. 8 of the 9 were arrested yesterday in Dallas, Memphis, and Nashville. These individuals who are charged and arrested include Lontrell Williams Jr., also known as Pooh Shiesty, Lontrell Williams Sr., Rodney Wright Jr., also known as Big 30, Kadarius Waters, Demarion Gibson, DeMarcus Glover, Corday Johnson, Darian McDaniel, and Terrence Rogers has not been arrested yet, but will be soon. The complaint alleges that on January 10th of this year, 3 music industry professionals traveled to Dallas for a scheduled business meeting. Lontrell Williams Jr. arranged this meeting purportedly to discuss the terms of his recording contract with one of the victims. As alleged, once these 3 men were inside the recording studio, Williams Jr. and 8 co-conspirators, several of whom traveled from Memphis, Tennessee, executed a coordinated armed takeover. As alleged, Williams Jr. produced an AK-style pistol and forced one of the victims to sign a release from the recording contract at gunpoint. The remaining conspirators displayed firearms and robbed the other victims of Rolex watches, jewelry, cash, and other high-value items. One of the victims was actually choked by one of the defendants to the point of near unconsciousness. Defendant Wright barricaded the studio door with his body to prevent the victims from escaping. The ringleader of the conspiracy, Lontrell Williams Jr., was on home confinement at the time of the offense, as alleged, for a prior firearms conspiracy charge and conviction out of the Southern District of Florida. Towards the end of his prison.
Okay, now, this is what has everyone baffled. This nigga Pooh Shiesty did all this shit while on house arrest. Now, I mean, while on papers. Well, yeah, he was on house arrest too because he had the ankle monitor, so he had to be reporting to his PO like his whereabouts. But the crazy thing is, I don't believe that this shit was just conjured up the day before or the day of. I think this was something Pooh been plotting on since he was in jail. Like, if you know about 1017, you know about all these different, artists that Gucci had on the label. And a lot of people were saying, man, 1017 must be cursed, or Gucci man must got something going on, because everybody ended up dying. You know, you had Big Scar died, you had Enchanting died. I think you had somebody else went to jail. Like, it was just all back to back to back, something happening, you know, with somebody. So when Big Scar passed, I think something that happened with the chain, and Gucci ain't want to pay for the funeral, or he paid for the funeral, wanted the money back, wanted the chain back, and he was at odds with the family members. And that's Pooh Shiesty's cousin. So I think Pooh Shiesty kind of really took that to heart. You know, so not only is, you know, you ain't giving me out, letting me out this contract, I still ain't forget about what you did with my cousin, you know, regarding his death or whatnot. Now, I think all this was like plotted on, like, yeah, man, we're gonna get out that contract one way or another, you know. And I think that Pooh Shiesty daddy was involved with, you know, conspiring all this up, and Big 30, you know. So the thing about it is, you did all this while you just got out of jail, you know, while you on the ankle monitor. You did this at a place of business, why he got security around him, you know, and you had all these dudes. Now, some people feel like, oh, well, he had to take 9 dudes to get up there. Like, that ain't just Pooh Shiesty robbing them. That's a bunch of, you know, all them robbing him. Ain't just like Pooh Shiesty just did this to go out by himself, you know. Then it'd have been a different story, because nobody just felt like Goo would have been going for that. Plus, Goo way bigger than Pooh Shiesty. You know, so yeah, man, they all knew how these dudes were. And a lot of people making fun of Big 30, because he actually like 5'9", 265. Like, that's a crazy height weight combination. Like, 265, that's bigger than probably most NFL players. Like, that is crazy out of shape for his height. So, you know, but the thing is, I think uh one of the security guards was an off-duty cop. So by him being an off-duty cop, they were saying that he has to, like, you know, give a full, you know, real statement, you know, and he probably know all this on camera. Now the thing is, I'm not sure if he gonna mention it on here, but I heard that, you know, everybody's saying Gucci snitch, and some people saying he didn't snitch. The security gave all the information, but they had like a air tag up in his luggage, and that's how they was able to track them. Now, I think only Gucci will know about that air tag within the luggage. How they found that out? Only Gucci man can say that. So that's like a key witness type thing, you know. So I don't know, man. Let me know what y'all think.
Sentence, he had been granted home detention. Part of the terms of his home detention were that he would not commit another federal offense or possess a firearm. His father, Lontrell Williams Sr., is alleged to have helped plan and execute the federal kidnapping as charged in the complaint. And as described further in the complaint, within hours of leaving the Dallas studio, a number of the defendants were on social media displaying some of the items that appeared to be the jewelry that had been robbed from the victims. The charging document outlines some of the evidence, just some, establishing the defendants' roles in the federal offense. This is as follows: electronic monitoring data placing Williams Jr. at the offense location, which would put him in violation of his home detention conditions. Cell phone records and license plate reader data corroborating the coordinated travel of multiple defendants from Memphis, Tennessee to Dallas. Rental car records confirming Williams Sr. rented a vehicle that was used by the group. Surveillance footage from the offense location, a nearby office supply store, and a hotel where several of the defendants stayed following the offense. Fingerprint evidence as well that was recovered from the crime scene, matching at least 2 of the defendants. Social media posts by defendants displaying what appears to be stolen property just in the days following the offense. Greyhound bus records confirming the travel of multiple defendants from Dallas to Memphis the day after the offense. In this case, came to Dallas to conduct legitimate business.
I don't understand these criminals of this era, but right now, a lot of stuff is under surveillance. You got Teslas under surveillance. You got a lot of businesses got cameras on a block. You got cameras on blocks. You got ring cameras. You have your phone itself gonna have your location on it. They could track all that, you know. I don't know why these dudes keep doing this rental thing. Like if you're gonna do a crime, don't rent no car. And then then they getting a rental and driving it state to state. Like that's even more crazy. Like if you're gonna do something, get you a Lahadi or something. Like don't get nothing was in your name. Then, like I say, man, you under surveillance. Whether you know it or not. You got your phone, and the thing that baffles me, the thing that really baffles me, is the social media bragging bragging about it. Now, one thing about it, a street dude, when they put stuff on Instagram, they like to put stuff encrypted, but some dudes, they go way too far. They just feel like, man, look, I'm doing this to another street dude. He ain't gonna snitch. But you got to understand, this dude was with a lot of security guards and people who ain't had nothing to do with that. You don't know what they're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? That's the caveat. And then, like I'm saying, you posting the actual stored items on your Instagram. So you want people to know you did this, but not every time that stuff gonna work in your favor as far as the street upholding a code that's not gonna tell, then everything is just handled in the streets. Like it was rumors about that even without the bragging showing of a jury. You're gonna get the street credibility from the rumors alone. So you ain't gotta go overboard and bragging. But that's what it is about today's youth, bro. They want to go overboard. They want to brag and showboat. Look what I got from this person. Look what I took from this person. I remember when Young Bird Chain was going on tour. Y'all remember when Young Bird Chain was going on tour? Everybody had a picture with Young Bird Chain. But man, that was that was like the last generation where you could kind of get away with stuff because social media wasn't as rampant as now today. Now they are making it easy for the feds. Feds closing cases in record breaking time. They don't even need a first 48 no more. All they need is a first 12.
And they were met with firearms and violence as alleged in the charging document. This case should serve as a warning to others who believe that using violence and intimidation tactics to rob others in our community is a viable way to conduct business. I'm here to say that it is not, and that if you choose to do this, we will, together with our law enforcement partners here and the other ones in the Northern District of Texas, will bring you swiftly to justice. I want to thank the FBI Dallas Violent Crimes Task Force, the FBI's Memphis Resident Agency and Nashville Field Office, the Memphis Safe Task Force, the Dallas Police Department, the United States Attorney for the Western District of Tennessee, Michael Dunovit, and AUSA Greg Wagner, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Texas, my dear friend and colleague Jay Combs, and the U.S. Attorney's Office
Give me a shout out for them right here,
including my colleague Braden Busek, for their outstanding contributions in this multi-jurisdictional investigation and prosecution. I'd also like to highlight the extraordinary work. None of this happens without the extraordinary work of our AUSAs in this office. And I'm here to say we have the best AUSAs in the entire country.
And then you got to understand, the police of today, a lot of these police people is tech savvy. So they could, it's way more easy for them to crack cases. Now, they're going to make an example out of Pooh Shiesty. He did all this on house arrest, fresh out of jail, and on top of that, you got a Draco. Oh, yeah, they're going to make an example out of this boy. They're going to make an example out of him. And on top of that, with the contract thing, by Gucci Man signing him under duress, that wouldn't even work when he get his lawyer. Let's just say none of this unfolded. All Gucci had to do was get his lawyer and say, man, I signed it under duress. He ain't have to really just get into no specifics, but he could just say he signed it under duress, and He was forced to sign, and that right there, even if they would have got away with it without this coming to into the hands of law enforcement, it still wouldn't have been, legit. And I heard they try to go double back and try to get him to sign a date on it as if that would have made a difference. It wouldn't. And I think all that changed after Suge Knight and the Easy E thing, or whatever the case may be, back in the 90s, when Suge Knight used to go around like forcing people, to uh get contracts and stuff. I think he forced Vanilla Ice or something like that. I think Easy E did something like that back in the day. But I'm pretty sure y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, man, I think ever since then they, came up with laws to prevent that from happening. You know, um, but all I could say is, man, what can we learn from this? A lot of people are saying Gucci, he wrong for snitching. It shouldn't even got that bad in the first place. He was supposed to let him out his contract. Gucci is known to be a guy that if a guy want to get out his contract, Gucci just gonna let him walk. So a lot of people are kind of making Gucci the actual victim in this. But I think that, the old Gucci, he got on camera saying, "Oh, we don't snitch where we from. I would never snitch. I would never be a snitch, no matter what. I would rather die." He on camera saying all this. But I think people grow. I think people mature. I think people change. That was when he was once in the streets. Now he's an actual family man, and he with his wife. Now a lot of people calling his wife his handler, and a lot of people are feeling like his wife made him do this. Go head on and be a witness and give up information on Pooh and all this. Because a lot of people still got the little clone conspiracy going on with Gucci. Or he might not be a clone, but he might be, under a lot of different medication, and his wife is his actual handler. So that's neither here nor there. I don't get into all that type of stuff, but in Pooh Shiesty, I just think it's the environment he was in. Look at his father. Look no further than his father. His father right there with him committing the crimes is no different than the guy from Florida, K-Sue, with his dad. Sometimes you follow in your dad's footsteps, and that could be in a negative light. So such a waste of a talent when it comes to the music. And his father should be ashamed of himself. Just let his kid down the wrong path. You would think out of everybody, from going to Tennessee all the way to Texas, you would think out of everybody in that car, you would think the dad would have a common sense to say, you know what, this ain't worth it, bro. We gonna find a way out this contract one way or another. But we ain't gotta take it to this level. You know. And the thing I just want to learn, the thing I want to talk about, what I think black men can learn about this is having emotional self awareness, emotional self regulation, emotional self control. I think when it comes to the black man, I think when it comes to ego, I think when it comes to pride, I think when it comes to, trying to show off your masculinity in the wrong way, but you think it's the right way. I think it lead us in jail a lot over misunderstandings, over you know females, over money. A lot of times it can be, you know, a few times it can be understandable, depending on how far in extreme you go. But for the most part, I think a lot of guys just gotta just be able to know how to diffuse situations, how to resolve situations, how to, de-escalate situations. You know, like this could have been avoided, dog. Like all y'all had to do was sit down and talk as men. You know, like two people gonna have to just sit down and come to some type of compromise. Okay, I want out this contract. What I need to do to get out this contract? Okay, how about I do this? No, I'm thinking this. Okay, well, how about I do that? No, I'm thinking this. Okay, where can we find common ground and meet in the middle? Okay, bam, that's what we could do. And all this could have been avoided. Big Dirty, he never got his chance to shine. He was just a nigga that's been a goon up in Pooh Shiesty camp, basically, never really got his chance to shine. You would think he would hold it down in shine mode when Pooh Shiesty went away, but he never really just picked up that torch and carried it and held it down on his own because he just never had the star power, I'm guessing. And it's a lot of big 30s in every crew, you know, and it's just sad to say they got up out the trenches to get this fame and glory, and now they about to be in worse situations than the trenches, jail. You get up out the trenches so you don't go to jail or you don't end up 6 feet, and they still end up 6 feet or jail even after having success, and that's the sad part about it, you know. And now the daddy, he probably spend the rest of his life in jail because I'm pretty sure he gonna have some type of record. So I just want to say, man, we just got to make better choices, black man, and we glorify the wrong stuff. Like a lot of people right now, they saying, "Oh man, Pooh Shiesty stuff, his album hitting way harder than it was hitting, 2 weeks ago." Just because all this happened, he the dude that's really living his raps. Him, King Von, Lil Durk, Young Boy. We praised it like we always glorify and praising the wrong people in our community. Like I ain't really listen to his music, but I like his message in Nipsey Hussle. Like I like his message. His message was black men go ahead on, get you a bag, start you a business, have you a product, learn Bitcoin, get knowledge. His message was basically knowledge when it comes down to it. I'm all for that. I'm all for the black man progressing. I'm all for the black woman not sexualizing herself. I'm all for the black woman not acting an ass on camera for clout. At some point, when is it going to stop? At some point, when are we going to get it together? We literally the detriment of our own selves. And I just know other races just look at us and just laugh because other races are lifting each other up. We the only one with a crab in a bucket mentality. And the people we glorify are the same people who are a detriment to us not being able to evolve. They trying to hold Gucci to a standard that, they was holding him to 20 years ago. They trying to say, oh man, Pooh Shiesty, he a gangster, I mean, it's a fine line between the gangster and the crash out. But I just want to say, man, what y'all think about this situation? Let me know down in the comment section below. If y'all have any more info on this, go ahead on and put it down in the comment section if anybody is interested. It's the talk of the town right now, so I'm pretty sure it's gonna probably be a little bit of disagreement in the comment section, but feel free to just go ahead on and cast your perspective in the comment section. I'm willing to hear from everybody. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, what you waiting on? Until next time, I'm out.